You're watching Astrologically Speaking.
So, welcome to Astrologically Speaking, and today's episode actually is going to be more about dreams, um, two in particular. So, at least once a week, I will come on and kind of share some dreams that I've had recently that I feel have significant meaning. Um, Basically, what I want the content of the channel to be is bringing up world events that have to do with everything that's happening currently. I may talk about some things that have happened in the past, but basically current events, and even discussing some things in the future. Taking those subjects and then applying them to astrology. For example, um, the first episode of Astrologically Speaking was supposed to be about the virus that's out here and the jab and the people involved in 2020 and 2019 and 2021, and discuss a little bit um, about what we think may happen in 22. So that is the gist of what the channel is about. And um, anything that's happening, we just had a memorial for 9/11. Um, if I were to do an episode, we would just bring up that subject, delve into the past a little bit, look at all of the astrological um, symbols and the constellations and the occurrences during that period. So, including those that are involved uh, with that whole event, in any event that's happening, we'll talk about the people involved, look at their zodiac signs, perhaps pull a couple of their natal charts and try to delve into it and see how it affects all of us. Astrology is, of course, a pseudoscience, so um, you have to take what you hear with a grain of salt. Uh, None of us eh, are complete experts when it comes to astrology. It's about how we personally interpret everything. Even if you pull a natal chart, it's all about how you interpret that natal chart. One person could interpret it completely different than the next. So, uh, while I respect everyone's right to voice their opinions, um, I don't need to hear, well, you're wrong about this, and this sign has, these characteristics, and you're wrong about that, and this means that on the natal chart, because it's all about perception. You may not see what I see, I may not see what you see, but I'm here to give my viewpoint and my perspective, and you're more than welcome to join in and give your ideas. However, there is no right or wrong when it comes to astrology. So basically, that's what the channel is going to be about. It's just talking about all of those subjects. But today, I'd like to just discuss dreams. So let me just give you a little background here. So I remember when I was about uh, early 20s, and I was telling my dad about a dream that I had, and he was very interested. He listened to all of it. I can't remember the dream, but I was explaining it to him, and he told me as we were getting out of the car um, that I had a gift. He said, "You have a gift. Your grandmother had a gift. Your great grandmother had a gift, and you do as well. And you need to always keep a notepad and a pen or pencil next to your bed. And when you wake up that morning, write down all of the visions that you see." Um, Sometimes I do that. I try to keep something next to me. A lot of times I just try to remember and I'll record what I saw, or I'll wake up and remember and just look up to try to see its meanings. I do have a book. I will maybe post that later. It's a dream interpretation book. And I take those with a grain of salt as well, because again, it's all, it's all about perception. All of this is about how you perceive things. So, um, I've had, fast forward, two significant dreams. Now, before I forget the dream that I had this morning, I'm going to go ahead and go into that first. And then I'm going to go into the next dream, which I think is highly significant. And um, feel free, if someone here does have knowledge about dreams, even about astrology, please post your thoughts on it below. I'd love to hear your feedback. Um, Again, I don't dismiss anyone for their interpretation. I just will not stand for anyone who says your interpretation is wrong, or your precipitation, or perception rather, interpretation is um, is absolutely right, because there is no absolutely right. There is no absolutely wrong in this. And I will repeat that on videos, because you do have those that, as soon as they hear you talk, they'll completely dismiss anything that you have to say. So, the first dream, or the most recent dream. Last night, or actually this morning, um, I had a dream. I was over my best friend's house. She lives in a rural community. So it was me, my husband, my kids at her home visiting. Um, we did some hiking in the woods. We talked. We spent time together. I don't remember the details. What I do remember, though, is that we were packing up to leave, and I was making the bed before leaving, and I was spraying down the bed with Febreze, and just making sure that everything was nice and fresh and, clean for her as I left, being a good house guest, basically, um, and packing up my things. And then her husband came into the room, and oh, uh, back up. So before I started cleaning up, her and her husband went and took a walk together into the woods, and they were going to this shed, and it wasn't a barn or anything like that. It was a shed, but it was kind of big. So um, they went in there to talk, and then I remember her coming back to the bedroom, and me and her talked, and I can't remember. I remembered when I woke up, but I can't remember now what she was talking about, but she almost started whining or not really crying, but whining a little bit. And I remember telling her, oh my gosh, you sound and look just like my daughter when you do that. And if people were to see you and her together, they would think that you were her mom instead of me. So we laughed about that, and she left. I'm cleaning up the room. Her husband comes in, and we're talking, and I was thanking him for inviting me and my family into their home, and that I couldn't wait to come back and see them again. Um, my cat that I have in real life, okay, um, my cat was there. Now I can't remove my cat from my home. He will claw the shit out of you. Excuse my language, but he will. So I can't remove my cat. I can't move him, but somehow in this dream, I managed to bring my cat um, on vacation with the family, and my cat was there at my friend's house with us, and my friend's husband was kneeling down and trying to call my cat from underneath the bed. And I said, don't try to touch him because he's going to claw the shit out of you. so so I had to like give him that warning, like do not try to pick this cat up. He's not having that. So um he's trying to get the cat and trying to get the cat's attention, and then we're laughing and talking, and then fast forward, or the next thing that I remember is we're in a hallway and the door is open. And this is the front door. This is going outside of the house, leaving the house. And we're at the front door. And the front door is open, and in front of us is a screen door. Okay, it's glass all at the top. The bottom is screen. It felt like it was fall, like it is now. And so the screen wasn't, like, the glass part wasn't open to let air through. Um, but you could still feel air coming through the screen door. So the screen was there. You could clearly see outside into the front yard. And my friends, my friend and her husband were behind us. And me and my husband were sitting down, putting on our shoes. My husband was sitting in front of me. And so directly in front of him was the front screen door. And then I'm sitting behind him, and both of us are putting on our shoes. And then behind me um, are my is my friend and her husband, and they're talking to us, and we're getting ready to leave. And I don't know where the kids were in all of this. I don't know where my cat was, but anyways, this is this is the strange part. So we're putting on our shoes, and I remember I kept looking out of the screen door, and it started getting windier and windier. It was a horizontal wind. So, if you're going outside, and Lord knows we've had enough hurricanes, no matter where you're living, it seems like they're hitting everywhere, like all the coastlines of the United States. And that's where I am, by the way. Um, if you're standing outside, the wind is coming down or blowing across your body vertically, but at an angle. It's blowing across your body. Well, this was more like a hurricane type wind. What I mean by that is it was horizontal. The wind was coming at you. Um, it was like flat and blowing at you horizontally. Imagine throwing a Chinese star that they use in martial arts. When you throw it, it's going at you horizontally. It's flat and it's speeding towards you. That's the wind. Okay, the wind was blowing at us like that. Um, and it was blowing harder and hard, like it was just a constant. It wasn't like uh and then it stopped, and then you hear another. No, it was just constant, like blowing wind, almost like um, what do they call it? I could look it up right now. Let's see. When you have like a blast from a bomb or something. Um, let's see. As I guess, just looking it up, just Googling it, it says nuclear airburst, um, like the blast wind. It's like a rapid outward movement from the blast. Um, that's the way the air or the wind was coming at us. So it was blowing really hard. And we were talking about something dealing with current events and weather and stuff. And I remember saying something to my friend. And I said, well, with all of this, and then it's a blank. I can't remember that part. With all of this, and then I remember next saying, and with everything that we're putting our son through, one day it's just going to explode. And a few seconds after I said that, there was a loud boom, and it was like an explosion, and I felt it. It was so hard and so loud that I physically felt it in real life. Um, what woke me up was the explosion. It was so loud, and my body actually felt it. So, people listening, when I was waking up from this dream, my shoulder, because the way that I was facing, my right shoulder was facing the door as I was sitting there putting on my shoes. So my right side was kind of, um, I was kind of turned toward the door, turned towards my husband. And as I'm waking up out of this dream, I feel like, I feel almost the pressure or the effects of the loud boom hit the right side of my body, and from my shoulder, right shoulder, from my right shoulder all the way up to my head, I felt this boom, and I started to shake. When I woke up, I thought I was having a seizure. Like, I was shaking so hard, and the right side of my body hurt so bad as I was coming up out of my dream. Like, I literally felt like the boom, that sonic boom, like it was something exploded. And I think that if it were the sun, it would happen so quick that um, you wouldn't feel anything. It would just happen. And I believe that, and someone could put in the comments that this is true or not. Realistically, if something like that were to happen, you wouldn't see it or feel it coming. It would just happen. Um, this was more like a bomb, and I don't know if it was a nuclear bomb. I don't know what kind of bomb it was, but it was more like a bomb. It was more like that sonic boom that I heard, that I felt like the earth shaked. Um, but I felt like that blast, like on the whole right side of my body. And when I woke up, like my body was actually shaking in reality from my shoulder up. Um, and that's what woke me up out of my sleep, actually, which is crazy to me that I physically felt in real life what was happening to me in the dream. Um, please comment if you've ever had that happen to you. But that's what happened to me. So that's a dream that I just had this morning. Um, our dreams are kind of deceptive. We could believe that it's a dream that we just had a few seconds before waking up, and then in all actuality, it was a dream that we had 2 hours before waking up. All I remember is that um, I'm not sure when the dream began, but it ended with me waking up out of that the um, after the explosion. So um, that is the one from this morning. Now, the other dream that I had, buckle up for this one. So, get some water here. The next dream that I'll talk about, this happened a few months ago. Okay. And I almost tell it exactly the same every time I I retell this dream. So right now I'm just trying to think of how it began or where I will start off. So I'm in a neighborhood, suburbs, okay? Beautiful homes on the left side, on the right side, sidewalks, quiet streets. I'm walking down the sidewalk, beautiful sunny day. Other people are also walking their dog, jogging. It's not the city, but it's fairly busy, early in the morning. People are just getting out, going to work, going to school, etc. So I'm walking down the street, and by the way, my this dream had several scenes that in the dream I would flash back and forth between settings or between the scenes. So I'm walking down the street, lovely day, and then I switch over to another scene. I'm in a building, and the setup is like a school. There's lockers, hallways, but it was more industrial, like more military, like. Um, if you've ever seen the jumpers that uh, pilots wear that are in the military, in the Air Force, it they were wearing those type of jumpers. I'm walking down the hallway and there's students. They they don't look like students. They look fairly young though. They're all wearing these uniforms. It felt very military like I was in, I don't know, some learning institution, maybe um training, a military training building. So I'm walking down the hallway. I can't remember if I was dressed like them. I want to say that yes, I was, and I'll explain why in a little bit. But I'm walking down the hallway and I see my daughter, one of my daughters, pass by me, walk past me, and she didn't even look at me. She's just staring straight ahead and she's walking, you know, normal, but more more like if you saw someone in the military walking, not marching, but she was very focused, very, you know, orderly, very disciplined in the way that she was conducting herself and moving. And so were the other people that were in this building. By the way, they're just going in both directions down the hallway. I'm walking down the hallway. I see my daughter pass by me on my left side, and she just walks past me like she doesn't even know me. She's taller, so in this dream, she's older, but she looks like she's maybe in her late teens, early 20s. My daughter is just barely in her teens now, so she walked right past me. Um, then the dream switches again. Now I'm back in the suburbs, but I'm not I'm not on a street where there's houses on both sides of me. There's houses on the right side of the street, and on the left side where I was, I'm actually sitting on the steps of a building. It looks like a government building, maybe a museum, a library, maybe uh, think of DC and maybe one of the buildings that are there. Um, I was at a building like that. Not too big, not White House big, but I'm sitting on the steps and there is, uh, and I'm sitting on the steps in there's the railings as you walk up the steps, so you can hold on to the railing and walk up. Um, so I'm sitting on the steps and I'm facing, uh, the direction that I'm facing, I can see houses across the street, a couple. Um, but I'm way up high on the steps. I'm almost like um maybe several stairs, maybe about 10 steps from being on the top where you can walk into this building. So I'm sitting there, and in front of me, there's a couple of houses. It does look like it's kind of suburbs, maybe a small town feel. And you could see like the horizon, you can see the top of the trees, and you can see the sun there, right in front of me. So there's a man sitting next to me to my right, and he has a baby, a little girl, um, maybe about one or two, in a stroller slash like almost feeding chair. He's sitting there feeding the child. And I'm talking to the baby and I'm looking at him, and I can't remember what I was saying to him, but what I do remember is um, I stood up and I'm staring at the sun, and there's people. Now, this is a busier street, so there's people just walking up and down, there's cars going down the street. And I remember standing up and looking at the sun, and I was like, oh my gosh, the sun is so bright. Why is it so bright? It looks like it's just getting brighter and brighter. And he stood up and turned around and looked at it too. And it's almost like everyone at that moment stopped to turn around and look at the sun. And it just got extremely bright, like very large and very bright, like it was growing or getting closer to us. Then I um, switched scenes in my dream, and now I'm back in this industrial military training type building. But now I'm in a room. You know those metal long, they're long metal tables. They kind of look like picnic tables, but they're metal instead of the wood, and they usually have them in school lunchrooms or prison lunchrooms, prison cafeterias. But it was the long metal tables with the benches, and they were lined up in one single row, just a whole line, just one single row in the middle of the room. Um, and uh, there was nothing on the right or left of the tables, just the tables lined up in a long row across the room, and there were people sitting uh, on both sides of the table, on both benches. So the table was lined up full of people. who looked like cadets, who looked like, again, like they were in the military or the Air Force. They had on those like the jumpers that the pilots wear that you see in movies and on TV commercials that the military wears. And there was someone else there had on the same uniform, but they had on um, their badges and that on their uniform, and they were walking back and forth like they were teaching or leading like a class or that training exercise or something. And I'm sitting there at the table, and now I'm there, but it's almost as if no one knows that I'm there. Um, I can't remember anything that was being said, but it looked like um, they were being lectured on or getting drilled about something that was about to occur. So whoever it was that was speaking was giving them information about something that was about to occur. So I'm sitting there and I see both of my daughters here in this room and they're on the benches. And again, it's like I'm invisible. Um, and then my dream switched over again. Now I'm back in the suburbs, walking down the street, bright sunny day. And same feel, houses on both sides, people walking, but it doesn't look like they're really going anywhere. It doesn't look like they're going to work or school. No one's rushed. There's no sense of urgency. It just looks like they're just walking, like I am, just taking a stroll. Um, there's not a lot of people out. I think maybe three or four were on the street, someone walking their dog, etc. I hear this rushing sound behind me, and I look behind me and I see like like water. It's almost like a tsunami is rushing into the neighborhood. And there's tons of water just rushing towards me. So I take off running. Okay. My dream switches again. Now I am on a ship. It looks like a cruise ship. Um, it's as big as a cruise ship, but it didn't feel like a cruise ship. It felt more like a military ship or something of that sort. And I say that because the ship had a lot of metal. I remember seeing a lot of gray colors, a lot of metal, a lot of dark colors on this ship. So it was as big as a cruise ship. I felt like I thought I was on a cruise ship in the beginning, because why would I be on a military ship? So why would I be on a naval ship? So I thought I was on a cruise ship, and I remember hearing lots of water, you know, and then I remember somebody yelling, and there's people like rushing back and forth, like urgency, like something crazy is happening outside of the ship, and they're like, grab the kit, and I'm like, what kit? Where's the kit? What are you talking about? The first aid kit. So I run out onto the deck. There's a door, and I run right outside the door and right against the wall. As soon as I exit the door and go onto the deck, first of all, I look out. The sun is super bright, and there's lots of water rushing from the suburbs, from the streets that I was just running from. It's like water rushing in like a tsunami. It's like, or like the town is being flooded instantly. So there's lots of water rushing up, and I'm like, oh my God. So I look to my left, and right up against the wall, there's this big white first aid kit. Okay, it has the red plus sign on it for first aid, and I open it up, and there, instead of first aid stuff, there's like military equipment or something like that in there. There's a grenade, there's a gas mask. Um, there's knives. And I'm like, this is not a first aid kit. What the heck? What the heck is going on? Now, mind you, of course, I'm in a dream. So the water's rushing up. Now, in reality, I can almost hear someone like whispering in my ear talking to me. It was a male voice. It was kind of deep. It wasn't a voice that I recognized. And it said, "Hurry, you're about to wake up." And I was like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? And then the voice said again, "Hurry, you're about to wake up. Remember the letter A." And I was like, A? A, what the heck? Oh my God. And I felt like, okay, hurry up. You really are about to wake up out of this dream. And you have to remember what this voice is telling you to remember. But you got to hurry up and get this information before you wake up. So I was like, okay, the letter A, what is the letter A? What does that stand for? Because I'm about to wake up out of this dream and I have to get the information before I actually get up. And the voice said, "Remember the letter A. You're about to wake up. Just remember the letter A." I said, "What does the letter A stand for?" The voice said something that was mumbled and I couldn't understand it. And then I remember yelling in my dream, "I didn't hear you. What does the letter A stand for?" And then the voice said, "Remember Absalom." And I was like, "Absalon?" And then as soon as I questioned, did they say Absalom or Absalon? I woke up. So, um, very strange dream. Um, this is where it gets a little crazy. I actually got on my computer, like I'm doing right now, and I typed in capital Absolon and clicked enter. Actually, it was Absalom that I put in. And then it said ABS, it like corrected my spelling, ABSALOM. So the very first thing that I came to was, and now this is something, the word Absalom or Absalon. I'm like, okay, that's not even a real word. Like, where in the heck did that word come from? It sounds fake, it doesn't sound like a real word. So I had to look it up to see what this meant in my dream. So I actually looked it up, and like I said, it corrected my spelling. So it actually corrected my spelling to Absalom, which is still Absalom. So I looked it up, and lo and behold, it is an actual word. It's Hebrew. It means father of peace. Okay. Um, Absalom is David's third son, um, born in Hebron. Um, Absalom was um, actually he was um, killed. He was trying to save. Oh gosh, let me just go to the scripture just to look it up. Let's see. Uh, so what I'm doing right now is just looking this up. Um, I'm getting all these ads popping up, so excuse me. So let me do a Bible lookup. And okay. So basically, I remember, and there's a lot of scripture here about Absalom, but the story was about Tamar. I believe Tamar was raped by her brother. Absalom had, I believe, killed the brother because he raped his sister, and King David loved this son, and the people actually revered Absalom, and King David feared. And if someone knows the story in depth, they're more than welcome to comment um, and 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 correct me about the story. But I'm actually reading from what I found on the internet as well, and what I found after I had this dream, and I actually looked up Absalom. So. Um, Absalom, the people actually revered him so much that they were actually talking about him taking over the kingdom, taking over as king, um, instead of King David. So, King David, of course, he wasn't having that. So, he sent his people after Absalom. Absalom is known for what ended up happening was Absalom had he was known for his long hair. His long hair got entangled into the branches of a tree and lifted up his head as he was. So he's riding on a horse. He, goes underneath some tree branches. The tree branches get caught up in his hair. He gets taken off of his horse. His horse is running on, and then he gets caught in the tree branches. And King David's people, are able to catch up to him, and they end up killing him. So that's what happened with that story. If anyone could maybe interpret your interpretation, give your interpretation of what that means in regards to my dream, um, had fun with that. So then I looked this up. I look up Absalon, Absalon, because I looked up Absalom, and like I said, as I'm coming out of my dream, I'm asking this voice, did you say Absalon or Absalom? Okay, so I ended up looking up both words. I looked up Absalom, okay, I explained what that was, okay, and or who that was, and then I looked up Absalon. Absalon, the Absalon class, listen to this, the Absalon class are frigates of the Royal Danish Navy, commissioned in 2005. The two ships in the class may be described as a hybrid between a frigate, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, and military transport ship with multiple role capabilities. You guys, this is a naval ship, and it is the naval ship that I was on when the flood waters came in. So I had this voice telling me to remember the letter A. And when I asked what it stood for, it told me Absalon. But I could not hear because of all of the water and all of the chaos around me. I wasn't sure if they said Absalon with an N on the end or Absalom with an M as in Mary at the end. So I look up both. One brings me, Absalom, to a character in the Bible. Absalon brings me to the ship that I was on. It's an actual naval ship. My mind like exploded. I was like, oh my God, oh my God. Like, I had to remember this dream, okay? So look at this ship. This is the ship that I was on. Um, I just went crazy with this. I kept looking at the ship. I kept going back and forth. I kept thinking about my dream. Um, the class is based on a frigate-like design, but built with an internal multi-purpose deck. Okay, so here I am looking for a first aid kit. I find military supplies, multi-purpose deck, and a stern vehicle ramp. The ships can serve as a command platform for a staff of 75 persons, naval or joint staff, with a containerized command and control center, transport and base of operations for a company-sized landing force of some 200 men with vehicles. Um, Oh gosh, I'm just now reading this too. The two ships in the class may be described as a hybrid between a frigate and military transport ship with multiple role capabilities, with the capacity to be transformed. Listen to this. I can't even express. I'll sound crazy on this recording, but hear me out. And anyone, if you doubt me, look this up. Okay, again, it's Absalon. This one is spelled Absolon. Okay, um, for more links, look up AB. I'm sorry, not it's Absalon. Okay, ship. So this says, and I'm going to start over, the Absalon class of frigates of the Royal Danish Navy, commissioned in 2005. The two ships in the class may be described as a hybrid between a frigate and a military transport ship with multiple role capabilities, with the capacity to be transformed from a combat ship with the firepower of a traditional frigate to a hospital ship within a day. Do you remember me telling you that while I was on this ship, they told me to get the first aid kit? And I went on the deck, and the first aid kit was right on my right, and it was a first aid kit. It was a big white box on the wall with a red plus sign, but when I opened it up, it had military supplies in it. This is saying right here, it's in Wikipedia, Absalon class support ship. This ship has the capacity to be transformed from a combat ship, a military ship, to a hospital ship. Now, this is something that I just now looked up and saw. Um, and when I had the dream and I was looking up Absalon, and I found this naval ship. All I saw was the information that I read in the beginning, that it had a frigate-like design, multi-purpose deck, can serve 75 persons to 200 men with vehicles. It's a transport ship. It's used in the Royal Danish Navy. Um, that's what I saw the first time, and my mind was blown then. Now I'm looking at this, and my mind is blown again. Okay, I don't know if you can, and this is how I know that my ancestors have blessed me with this gift, and I intend to share it. I don't like the word prophet or prophecy or seer or any of that stuff, but my father told me that I have this, and um, I don't doubt it one bit, especially after having this. And I've had many dreams that um, I'll share and that are just as crazy as this one, just as explosive as this one. Um, So here's mind blown number three. Okay, we talked about the ship. Okay, mind blown number three. And then I'm going deeper into this word. Like, I want to look up this word. I want to know everything about this word, Absalom. Absalom and Absalon. So now I look up Absalon again. Now it brings me to, this is crazy. It brings me to Absalon. Absalon, Absolon, is a movie directed by David de Bartholomew. Bartholomew. Okay? It's from 2003. I purchased this movie. By the way, when I looked this up, there's a lot of information on Google about this movie, but I could not find the movie anywhere. Um, I looked on Amazon, I looked on eBay. It is very hard to find. I finally came across a DVD and I bought it. Okay. Um, I think it only had like one or two left. It was very, very hard to find. Um, so that's the director. The actors in it: Christopher Lambert. They're well-known actors. Christopher Lambert, Lou Diamond Phillips, Kelly Brook, Ron Perlman is in this movie. Let me tell you what this movie is about. Now, again, I had this dream last year, early last year, okay? 2020. Here's the synopsis, okay? And give me one moment. Let me just read to you what this movie is about. Here's the storyline. Buckle up. Absalon. Again, the word that I heard in my dream that was spoken to me. In the near future, a virus has infected everyone on the planet, and Absalon is a drug that everyone must take to stay alive. One corporation controls the drug. Murchison, this is spelled Murchison, is the leader of this firm. A scientist who was researching the virus is found murdered, and Norman Scott is the policeman who investigates the crime. Soon, Norman realizes that he's in over his head as hitmen are gunning for him. The taglines for the movie are "Fight for the Cure" or "Face Extermination." This is a movie from 2003. It also says on the movie cover, "In a world ravaged by disease, he's the only cure and the last hope for humankind." I don't know what to tell you. I'm just telling you this, and I have the dream that I had, right, is 100% true. Um, this movie has a low rating, by the way. It's not the best. No offense to Lou Diamond Phillips, but he's one of those actors that eh, you might be able, out of the hundreds and out of 100 movies, I might be able. This is me personally. I might be able to find five that I like that he's acted in. This is not the best movie. It's pretty decent, but it's just a storyline again. And of course, Christopher Lambert and Ron Perlman did an excellent job. Um, and Lou Diamond Phillips is the bad guy in this movie. Um, it is, and I'll probably end up, I don't know, when I put this all together, I may end up showing you like the trailer for the movie, or you can look it up yourself. Again, that's Absalon, Absolon. It's from 2003. The movie is an hour, 36 minutes. It's rated R, and you might be able to find the trailer on YouTube. Um, but yeah, uh, the plot concerns a future society where the only hope for survival from a deadly virus is a drug called Absalon. Um, so I've been on here long enough. What I'm going to do now is just let you comment below. Um, I'm going to post this as many places as I can. So be sure to click your like, subscribe, and share this. That's all I can say. Comment below. Tell me your thoughts. Again, have no reason to lie. This is absolutely true. I couldn't make this up if I tried. Um, as smart as I think I am, I just couldn't. Um, this dream is just, I have more to come, and get plenty of sunlight, activate that melanin. Um, everyone has, well, mostly everyone on the planet has melanin, just different amounts. Get plenty of sunlight, get plenty of rest, so that you can have these very vivid dreams as well. Um, everybody, you know, um, has, various dreams. Some people are not, that's not their gift. Everybody has a gift, but, you know, uh, just get, just be in touch with who you are, and don't doubt, some of the messages that you receive. It may be just for you personally. You may not receive a message at all. That's okay. Or your message may not come in a dream. It may come in, a multitude of different ways. Um, but anyways, I'm out, and peace and blessings.